Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny.
I'm Athena.
And this is episode 122. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. So this is a fun one because it's a video podcast also. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hi. Yes, I am recording from my bed because I am sick. I have a bit of a cold, which I'm now blaming on Athena. Because if you recall, last time Athena was on the podcast, I was getting over a stomach bug. And this time I have a gnarly cold that I've decided to sit in bed and record for. So I'm thinking that maybe doing podcasts with Athena is a bad omen for me.
Yeah, I did that on purpose because I want to sound better.
Yes.
So I just get my voodoo doll out every time. And then we go from there.
Yeah. So, but I'm really happy that we are getting this done, and we should have another podcast with Athena in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, we haven't had you on the podcast since that first podcast where we introduced you, right? Two. What was the second one about? Do you remember?
One was an introduction. The second one was on body image.
That's right. The body image one was super fun. Actually, I really liked that one. But today, I'm actually going to have to pass the torch to Athena a little bit because we're talking about something that I really don't have a whole lot to contribute to. So I guess I'm probably going to have more questions than anything. And it's about dating. So we actually we get a fair amount of questions from people about some of the challenges of being vegan and dating in a non-vegan world, and how to stay vegan or stay on track with your fitness goals and be vegan when your partner isn't vegan. Or, I get questions about how do you find a vegan partner? And I'm like, I don't know, it happened by accident kind of, but dating is very different now, I think, than it was the last time that I was dating. But Athena is 25, right? You just turned 25. Yeah. Much younger, she has her finger much more on the pulse of these things than I do. So I thought it would be fun to chat with Athena about this, and maybe we can glean some nuggets of wisdom from this that could be helpful to other people. So first and foremost, tell me how you feel about the whole scene of dating period right now.
Dating's hard. Dating is so difficult. Specifically as a vegan, I think it's definitely a lot different because I think back in the days, but I would say pre-COVID, honestly. Pre-COVID, even before then, it was starting to slim down a little bit, but people used to meet in person. That's how you met. You would meet from your friends' friends. You would meet from going out to bars or restaurants, whatever. You would meet at clubs. You met people out and about, mutual friends. And now it's pretty much all online. And that was already starting before COVID, but after COVID, it's definitely it's all online. And that makes it 10 times harder because you have so many options. And I think people get so overwhelmed because there's literally an array of options at your fingertips every single day. You can literally swipe for days and days. I mean, you can swipe for years. I've been single for 4 years and there's still people to swipe on. They're just people. Yeah, it's hard. So that's how I would define that. And
so for people who don't know, tell me what this swiping thing means. I understand you swipe left or swipe right. I hear people say that, but what does that actually mean if you do that? What makes you decide whether or not you want to do that in the first place?
That's a good question. I made a little layout of what I thought we could talk about, and that's on the layout. Okay. So let me start with one thing, is how I define dating, because I think I want to make sure the language is clear. Because I define dating as going on dates with someone, whereas some people define it as being in a relationship with someone. I define it as if you're dating, you're just going on dates. If I'm in a relationship, then we are exclusive. Yeah, that's the word. Okay. So I just want everyone else to be clear on that. If I say dating someone, it's just going on dates with them. And I want to talk about specifically, I'm going to talk about the vegan demographics, and then I'm going to talk about dating apps. Mm-hmm. And then we can talk about why it's so hard for vegans. But this is really, I pulled some numbers here. So there are approximately 7.9 billion people in the world, and only around 1.1% of the population is vegan. which is about 88 million vegans worldwide. But I don't live everywhere. I only live in the United States. So if we just talk about the United States, according to the global market research company, I don't even know how to say it, Ipsos, there are, and I pulled this all from the same website. It's called, let me find it, worldanimalfoundation.org. There are more than 9.7 million vegetarians in the United States, with 1 million of the population being completely following a vegan diet. So that's not a lot of people.
So a million, like a million vegans in the United States, roughly.
Yeah, like fully vegans, approximately, 1 million like complete vegans in the United States. Meaning like completely vegan, because you know some people are like veganish. And 3/4 of the vegan population are females. Right. So in the United States, that's about 22% male, 78% female. Me, a woman, I date men specifically, exclusively. So just to make that clear, that makes my little here very small. So 78% of 1 million people is equal to like 780,000 vegan females. 22% of 1 million people is equal to like 220,000 vegan males. 220,000 males. And, you know, bring it to the factors of everyone lives everywhere, the pool just keeps getting smaller. And my options are already limited. But when you bring age into the factor, you know, luckily for me, most vegans are younger. So I do have that on my side. But stay with me. There's a lot of numbers, but I'm just going to say some last numbers here. In the US, the ages of like 16 to 24, about 36% are vegan, 22 to 34, about 44% are vegan, 35 to 44, there's like a huge drop and only about 11% are vegan, 45 to 54, about 7% are vegan, and 55 plus, only like 2% are vegan. Wow. So for me, I definitely have that in my favor because I'm within the, well, like I would say over half the range of the men like are probably within my age range of the vegan men that there are in the United States. But basically, this is all to give you an understanding of why it's so hard to date as a vegan female who wants to date a vegan man, because there's so little. And then there's like also the thing of like, are you an ethical vegan? Like, why are you vegan? Are you vegan fully? Are you vegan-ish? Yada, yada. So that's that. That's a lot of numbers. But basically, the point of that is the vegan pool is small. It is very, very small. And there's like so many factors into dating. And vegan isn't the only factor, but it's definitely an important one. So that's that. And then if we go into dating apps, I'll explain that now. The whole swipe thing. There's lots of different dating apps. Tinder is like definitely the most popular, well-known. I think that's probably, I don't know if that's where swiping started, but I feel like that's a big one. But basically, when you're on a dating app, you get pictures of people. They sometimes have a little bio. Like on Tinder, you can have like a little bio, you have pictures, and then you swipe left if you don't like them, right if you do like them. As in, you like what you see, you like their photos, you like what they're saying, you would like to talk to them, meet them. So you're swiping right. Swiping left, they're gone forever. Like, you don't ever see them again unless they also swipe. So if you guys both swipe right on each other, then you would go to the inbox and you guys could message each other there and then coordinate if you want to meet. But there's also like different dating apps. So that's Tinder. So Tinder specifically, you both have to swipe right. And then you get to the inbox and you can message each other if you want. And then there's Bumble, where you still swipe, but the woman messages first. So the man can't message first. The woman has to message first.
And why do you think that started? Why do you think there was a need for that?
Because men are creepy. Some men are creepy and some men send creepy messages. So I think Bumble took that into account. So now, yeah, Bumble, the woman she messages first if you both swipe right on each other, which is a cool feature. And mind you, also, none of these apps that I'm naming right now are vegan specific, and they don't have any vegan like, because some of them have little prompts that you can click on to like, I don't know, like you put your age, you put your height, stuff like that. That's like automatic a feature. There's not like a dietary feature on these apps. Hinge is the one that I use the most and I like the most. It's not a swipe feature. You have to answer 3 prompts, which is like, I don't know, what's your favorite place? What are your hobbies? And people like actually have to put a little more work into it, which is why I like it. So you still have the photos, you have to answer prompts, and then you actually respond to the prompts or the photo. So instead of swiping, you send them basically a message on whatever you want to comment on, and they can choose to respond to you or not. If they don't, you'll never see them again. Well, you could eventually, because sometimes people do pop up again, but not for a long time. So it's a very mutual thing. You both have to like each other. You have to both respond to each other. And then there's also 2 vegan dating apps.
Okay.
Vegly and Grazer's a new one. So Vegly, I have a hate-love relationship with it because it's an awesome concept. It's all vegans and some vegetarians. It's mostly, like for vegans, but vegetarians can use it too. Mm-hmm. And you put in your profile your dietary, like if you're vegan or vegetarian. And it's a really cool concept. Like it's all vegans, but it's like the app itself is just not well developed, and that's probably because, as I said earlier, there's not a ton of vegans in general, so they have to make money somehow, and I don't think they have like the resources to probably make it as great as it could be. Mm-hmm. First of all, there's ads. Unless you pay for it, there's every time you swipe for like 3 people, you'll get an ad. Like the more, and it's also not like swipe right, swipe left. You're swiping down and you get the same people over and over again, and they don't go away, which is kind of frustrating because with the other apps,
they're like, now that you've seen the rest, have you changed your mind on these people?
Yeah, yeah, literally. They just stay there permanently. And there's like 3 different sides. So there's like people you've liked, which is kind of cool. So you can kind of see the people you've liked and choose if you want to like unlike them eventually. I don't know. And then they have like the new users, and then they just have like the default. And it's pretty much just continuously always the same people. And there's not a lot of people that use it. It's not like huge. And Grazer, I like it a little more because it's like the swipe left, swipe right. So it's just more like I get rid of the people I don't want to see, and I get to see the new people very easily, but it's very new, so not a lot of people use it. So basically, dating sucks. That's how
so just quit. Live alone.
Just give up. Yeah, just give up and be alone. That's what I'm recommending here. Just kidding. But that's kind of like the brief on dating apps. And yeah, they're a really awesome concept. Mm-hmm. I love what they offer, but it's just hard because like it's like with Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, all the other normal dating apps, they're not vegan. Like the majority of them aren't going to be vegan. It's very rare that you'll come across a vegan male on one of the apps that just like even has it in his profile, one. But and like people that are open to veganism is hard to find as well. And you also can't say like I can't put on my profile only looking for vegans. You like because then my options are none on those apps. Mm-hmm. Vegly, Grazer, yeah.
So here's a question. So it sounds to me like you are looking for somebody who's vegan, but are you open to somebody who's not vegan, and what do you even think about that? Because I know a lot of people who are vegan who are dating people who are not vegan, and some of them are totally fine with it. Some of it's like some people it's a constant point of contention, etc. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Because that's the question of the year. It is so difficult because I want to be with a vegan. I want them to already be vegan specifically for ethical reasons and all of the above would be awesome. But like I want to date a vegan. Like I want to be in a relationship with a vegan. But as I've mentioned many times, my pool is very small. So it's really hard to find someone who's vegan because that's also not the only factor that I'm looking for. Like I also, of course, want to be attracted to them and they have to be attracted to me. And I want to have similar values in terms of like lifestyle. So it's not the only factor which makes it really difficult because the vegan pool is small, but then you throw in everything else. Like, do you want to live on the East Coast long term? Do you want to have kids or not? Are you religious? Like, there's so many big factors, like the big non-negotiables that we also have to agree on because those are important. They're non-negotiables. So it makes it really difficult because it's also like when it comes to vegan, I've asked myself this so many times because I've been single for like, I don't know, 4 years. I've been single for a long time. And that's something that I struggle with because I've been on dates with maybe like 2 or 3 vegans. They didn't work out, of course, but everyone else, it's just like, that's always the point of contention, like you mentioned, where it's like, I've never met someone who's immediately like super open to veganism or like expresses that. And I don't want to be pushy in terms of like, oh, like, are you interested in veganism? Like, let's talk about this. Like, and the thing is, like, for me, a big non-negotiable is that I'm going to, not that I want to, like, I'm going to have a vegan household. So if someone's not open to that,
right,
then I don't want to date them. But I also, it's really hard to express that in the beginning. Like when you're meeting someone who's not vegan, I don't want to say, okay, so this is what my household's gonna look like. This is what my future's gonna look like. Are you okay with this? Because that's just not something they usually bring up on a first date. But it's also that's a non-negotiable, so it needs to come up eventually.
Yeah,
it's hard.
That is really hard. That sounds super hard. And I'm trying, I'm thinking back now, this was a really, really long time ago. I'm sure there were dating sites back then. Like I remember there were dating sites, but before 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿, I had only dated people that were not vegan. And I lived with a couple of them and it was the same thing. Basically, they weren't vegan, but like the house was vegan. And luckily they were okay with it. Like they were perfectly happy to eat anything that I made. They would never give me crap and be like, oh, this would be so much better if it had bacon in it. Because I don't think that would have worked at all. But even still, even though the house itself was vegan, if we like went out to eat and I'm ordering my vegan food and they're ordering something completely not even vegetarian at all, it didn't feel fair to be angry at them or mad or even upset because it's like I knew what I was getting into, but still it would just always leave like a sour taste in my mouth. Like, how do you know everything that I've shared with you and you still kind of like don't care enough to not participate in this? Like it was always kind of just challenging mentally, even all the way back then when I had pretty much just like at that point in 2004, 5, 6, 7, like I didn't think it was even remotely possible that I was ever gonna meet a vegan man, let alone meet and fall in love and marry one. So I had already like just realized that was going to be my future, but it was still so hard, even all the way back then. So I don't know. And that's like hard conversations to have too,
Yeah, no, they're really very hard conversations to have. And it's also like, I get the question all the time. Yeah, like, would you date someone non-vegan? And it just comes down to the fact of like, veganism is my lifestyle. Like, you can relate to that on so many levels. Like, it's not just what I eat. Right. It's everything that I purchase, like the products, my hair products, my toothpaste, my like everything is vegan. My work is vegan. Most of my friends are vegan. I surround myself with like a big vegan community because it's so important to me. And for someone to not get that would be really, really hard because for any social issue. So for instance, like there's people that most people do not agree with eating dogs. Most people in the United States don't agree with eating dogs. So if I ate dogs, like someone probably wouldn't be okay with me doing that. They probably wouldn't want to date me. And that's kind of how we view it as vegans of like, when I see you order a hamburger, I don't see a hamburger. I see a cow. I see the whole process of what and how that got onto the plate of like, okay, the mama was taken, the baby was killed, the mama was killed, and like that's all I see is just I see a little cow on the plate. I don't see food. I don't see meat as food at all. And that's a really hard concept for most people to grasp, and not to their fault. Like the world hasn't made like the world's made us to be non-vegans. So I don't blame anyone for it. But it's like once you get it, you get it. And it's like really hard. Like you can't really change that mindset anymore. I went on a date recently where he asked, like, hey, are you okay with me ordering non-vegan? And I said, you know, it's your choice at the end of the day, whatever like I would prefer everyone order vegan. I'm gonna let you know, like, yeah, I would prefer that, but it's your choice at the end of the day. And he ordered a beef ramen, and like instantly I was like, I don't think this is gonna work out. Like it was just an instant turn off. I was so like, oh, like that's disgusting to me. Just because of what I know goes into it. And after I've expressed that it's like important to me, that's already it's already showing me immediately on that date that it's not something you're like considerate of. Whereas I've been on other dates with non-vegans who like take me to an all-vegan restaurant and are totally okay with that. That makes a big difference because it shows that they're putting in effort. They ask about veganism, so I know they're at least interested. That's important. I would say right now, like, yeah, I only want to be in a relationship with someone vegan. I don't know if that's gonna last forever because situations change. You know, if someone's open to veganism, maybe I knew that they were like getting there. It might be a little easier, but I think for me, like I've been vegan for 6 years or something like that. It's just really hard to date someone that's not vegan. And it sucks because that also means that I have to lower my standard to a non-vegan or be single for a little while longer or a lot longer. And I have no idea. So right now, I think I only want to be in a relationship with someone that's vegan. But like I said, I don't know, it could change because situations change. But I know I'm always going to be vegan, so.
Right. But, you know, that brings up a really good point that like recidivism rates for veganism is really, really high, meaning that unfortunately, most people who, as it stands right now, most people who go vegan will stop being vegan. Like it's a heartbreaking fact, but that is what all the research says so far. Like a lot of people go, I mean, it's a really high number, like over 80% of people who go vegan stop being vegan at some point. So, I mean, like theoretically, you could be in a relationship with someone who's vegan and then 10 years down the road, they could decide not to be. And it's like, whew, that would be a huge, huge sort of bridge to cross. Because at this point, you might have like, I mean, I assume you'd have all of this history with this person and love them on like many, many levels. And who knows what the reason for that would be that they would stop. But it's also like, you know, it's like you said, like if someone decided they were going to take up a religion that was completely different to how you lived later on down the road, or if you guys had agreed on not having children and then 10 years later, one person wants to have children, like those are big, big, big changes that would be, I think, challenging for any couple to kind of get through to the other side of. And people have asked me and 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 that all the time, like, oh, well, if Danny stopped being vegan, 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿, would you stay married to her? And vice versa. And it's really hard for us to even answer because we can't imagine that happening, you know? And I to this day, I cannot think of anything that would make me not be vegan. I mean, I imagine if I got really, really sick and the only like method of like healing that illness was to consume medicines that had animal products in them, or medicines that certainly had been tested on animals. Like, okay, that, I mean, I would probably do that if I was very, very sick, but to just be like, well, I have to take this life-saving pill that has eggs in it, so I guess I'm just going to go eat a steak. Like, I can't imagine ever being in that situation.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of couples do end up in situations like that, or the opposite happens. People who are not vegan get together and are together for a really long time, and then one of them, usually the woman, decides to go vegan, and it's like, whoa, here's this big wrench in the works. And it always seems to start with like the vegan person is just going to be vegan for themselves and it's not going to be a big deal. But then as they get more into it, they realize how important it is to them and their values, and now they kind of want the other person to join them, and that may or may not happen. So it is very, very complicated, I think.
It is so complicated. It is so complicated on so many levels, and it's all scenario based and it's all situational based. I've heard the argument too of saying like, you know, it's more, or you're benefiting the vegan movement more by dating non-vegan because you are opening that person up to the vegan lifestyle, to eating less meat in general, because, you know, just by being with you, they'll be consuming less meat in general or dairy products, etc. And if you just only date vegans, like, you're not really helping the cause in that way, because they're already vegan, they're already doing those things. And I can see that. I can see that point of view. Like, it makes sense.
Right. But in your own relation, you don't want to be a martyr in your own relationship.
That's very true. But yeah, that's the thing, is like, I don't want to have, like, my goal isn't to make someone be vegan. I don't want to make someone do that for me. Like, if someone wants to go vegan, I want it to be for them, not because of anything that has to do with being with me. Like, I want them to do it for themselves, for the animals, for the environment, for all the beautiful reasons that there are to be vegan. I don't want them to do it because, oh, like, she's vegan, so I'm gonna do it so that she likes me, or like that reason. Like, I don't want them to go, or I don't want to like be in a relationship because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm helping the vegan movement because they're eating less meat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard because it's such an ethical thing for me. Like, I just don't agree with eating meat or dairy. I don't agree with it. And I've heard, you know, like, well, you have friends that aren't vegan, and that's a little different for me because my friends, I'm not living with them. I'm not planning a future with them. Whereas with someone that I'm in a relationship, like, my goal with them is to hopefully get married. So I'm going to live with them. I'm going to spend most of my time with them. I want them to be someone that can relate to me on the deepest level. And this is probably one of the most important social causes to me. And if they don't understand that, like, it's just going to be a big imbalance. Right. And that would be really, really difficult for me. For them, you know, I'm sure it's not that hard. And a lot of people that eat meat don't really get that. But if you can think of any value that you have that's like very important to you, if the partner you're with doesn't agree, like you said, like with religion, etc., it sucks. It's really hard to make that work if you don't agree on the huge non-negotiables like religion or having kids or whatever it is.
Yeah, it would be like, you know, if you were dating somebody and you found out that they were totally supportive of you know, hitting children as punishment, you know? Yeah. That might make you be like, what the hell? Like, what? I thought that, you know, we were on this same page, and now it turns out this thing that might even be theoretical because you might not even have kids. But if you hear somebody support something like hitting children or saying something that you're like, wow, that's like a kind of incredibly racist, actually. Like, all of those little things make you think like, oh, this person, we are at a fundamental level probably incompatible. And once you see it, it's kind of hard to unsee it. Certainly people can change, right? Like, people can change and have their minds change, but it's like you said, that's, you don't want to be the reason. I mean, you might end up being the reason, right? Like, you might very well inspire somebody to go vegan. And 𝐬𝐿𝐵 actually went vegan for a girlfriend that he was dating a long time ago. It was for health reasons, but she was vegan, And eventually, like, she kind of opened him up to the more ethical side of things. And then he saw it. So, and now if you asked him, he would say, I'm vegan for ethical reasons, not health reasons, even though that's kind of how it started. So, I mean, there's a lot of different paths to that, but I do just think that first of all, I think relationship dynamics are incredibly complicated, period, full stop, regardless if anybody's vegan or not. Like, relationships are really, really hard. But I think that adding a level of kind of having this ethical sort of code that does put you in such a minority makes it even harder. I mean, my mother actually is, she's widowed, 2 years now. He's been gone, and she's starting to think about like dating, and she's almost 60, and she's like, how am I going to find a vegan guy like in their 60s here in this area? She's like, it's not going to happen. I'm not even going to find somebody who's like open to it or accepting of it. And she might not be quite as like ethically hardcore as I am, and that's fine. You know, it doesn't matter. She is vegan. She would never opt to eat animal products on purpose. But if like one of my cousins is coming over and they bring like a roast beef sandwich or something into the house that they got from somewhere else, she's not going to be like, you need to eat that outside. Whereas I'd be like, why are you bringing that in here?
Yeah.
So, you know, we're a little bit different in that regard, but still she's older and female and doesn't live in a big city where there's lots of vegans anyway. And it looks like it's probably, you know, she might have to answer that question like, do I have to date a vegan? Like, she might need to be a little bit less judicious about that particular fact if she wants to find some kind of partner going forward. And yeah, it just seems challenging. And I actually think that the online thing in general, like just having to find people online pretty much exclusively, the introvert in me is like, woohoo, you don't have to go meet people in person anymore. But also, like, anybody can type anything, you know? Yeah. Like, it's basically writing a sales page for yourself.
Literally, yeah.
And why wouldn't you say just like awesome things about yourself? And of course, the less self-aware you are, the less accurate these pages are going to be. Like, how often do you meet somebody and you're like, whoa, that is not what I was expecting at all? Like, does that happen?
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. I've been on so many dates. Like I said, I've been single for like 4 years. I've been on a shit ton of dates. I've been on so many dates. And usually it ends like after the first day of meeting someone. Not always because of that, of like, oh wow, that's not what I expected. But sometimes it is like, oh yeah, that's you definitely aren't what I expected. And not even just physically, but like sometimes it's just like the way, you know, just the way someone is. It's just very different than what you kind of have this imagination going when you're talking to someone online. You're kind of picturing how they sound, how they talk, how they walk. Like, you have this old picture in your head, and then when you meet them and they don't match up with that, it's like, oh,
right.
Okay.
That sounds really hard, actually. Just the anxiety of having to do, like, I'm feeling it in my chest right now thinking about it. Like, I would want to just disappear into the floor. Whereas I never, other than, believe it or not, 𝐶𝐿𝐵 is the first person I ever dated that I met online. But we weren't meeting online to date. It was just a vegan fitness forum. And we happened to get along really well. But everybody before that, you know, there were all of these, I just met them at work or friends of friends or at a party or whatever. So you would get to know them as a person first. And then one day you're like, ooh, hey, wait a minute. I think I'm developing feelings for this person. Like, I don't know, that just feels so much more natural, I guess. Yeah. But I guess that, I mean, I'm sure it still happens, just maybe not as often. I don't know. I would be very curious to see the statistics on that. Like, how many people like nowadays meet organically and form like relationships versus people who meet on apps, and like which one is more successful.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays apps are pretty successful. I don't know the stats, but I know they're widely used. So I think they're pretty successful nowadays. But it is hard, like you said, because that is something that I find very uncomfortable. I have no problem meeting anyone. Like when I first started dating, it was like a lot more nerve-wracking. Whereas now I just go into it like whatever. Like this is me. This is what you get. Like what's up? Let's hear from you. Whereas before it was like, oh my God, I'm going on a date. Ugh, so nervous. Now I'm just like, whatever. Okay, nice to meet you. Let's hear about yourself. Question one, just kidding. But it is kind of like a lot harder because it's not natural. And I feel so uncomfortable with that sometimes of like going into a date knowing that we're both going into it like testing out if we're interested in each other. Like that's kind of what it is. It's a test. It's not specifically, but kind of is like a test of like, are we compatible? Whereas when you meet someone organically, it's so much more natural. Like you become their friend, you get to know them on just like a friendly basis. Whereas like I can't go into a dating app saying, hey, I just want to be friends first. Most people aren't open to that. Most people
they're there for a reason.
Yeah, they're there for dating or hookups.
Right. Which is a whole other thing we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, that's a whole other realm of dating apps, is that like so many people are just on there for hookups. So on top of finding someone to date, finding someone who's vegan, it's just so hard.
Yeah.
But I do think that apps do have like the benefit of being able to find someone vegan or someone that like you would be more compatible with, because it's also really hard for me to meet someone organically that's not, or that is vegan, because I can't just go to a bar and, hey, how you doing? Are you vegan? Like this, it's not going to work out. Right. Luckily for me, though, I do live in a pretty big hubbub area. I live really close to New York City. So there is probably a wider variety of vegans near me than there are most people. So I have that, again, on my favor, like the age, where I live. I have some things on my side, whereas like if you live in North Dakota and you're vegan, like I don't know what to say, but like that's gonna be 10 times harder. Unless you're like willing to relocate, which some people are.
Yeah.
There's all of those factors too. But there's like so many factors to it too, because it's like other reasons that I wouldn't want to date non-vegans is like just the simplicity of the conversation. Like I can talk to you about anything as a vegan, and like I can make vegan jokes about non-vegans and it's funny, but I couldn't do that with someone that's not vegan. Like they're just gonna make vegan jokes about me, and like that kind of gets annoying after a while. Like it's really just, I used to like laugh at vegan jokes, but now pretty much all of them are just really annoying.
Well, yeah, because you've heard them all 100 times. That's all. Yeah. If somebody said something that was really unique, making fun of vegans, I'd probably laugh pretty hard. But it's just everybody makes a joke at you like it's the first time you've ever heard it before, and it's like, no, you're like not even the 100th person to say that to me.
Yeah. What do you eat? Gross?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
Yeah. Yep.
I've heard that before 10,000 times.
Yeah. You just like awoke a memory in me from middle school. I don't know if they still did this by the time you were in middle school, but I was thinking about dating apps and why they theoretically should be more successful, right? Because you're answering all these questions and it's like kind of saying, hey, we think you guys might be kind of in, like it's an algorithm, right? Like they're kind of showing you people they think you're going to like. They might be wrong, but in middle school around Valentine's Day, you could take this quiz and it was like a multiple choice. I think it was multiple choice. So you would have to fill in the bubbles to answer questions about you and your likes and dislikes and your values. And all the kids that took the quiz, I don't know what they did with them, but somehow they would say, you have a 97 something % chance of being interested in so-and-so. So then everybody would get their little paper to say who they were most or least compatible with. In middle school. Like this was a school sanctioned thing. You had to pay, it was like a fundraiser. You had to pay like $2 or something to do it. But that, to me, that seems like the baby version of what, and to be fair, one of the guys who was at the top of that list, not in middle school, but in high school, we dated for like 2.5 years. So it was yeah, it was pretty decent for that time. But of course, you're in middle school and you're like, ew, you know, whatever. But that's kind of like how dating apps, I imagine, work. And it should, like, theoretically, cut out a lot of people that don't match your like non-negotiables, you know,
Yeah.
where as opposed to like meeting someone at a party or at work, which by the way, don't date people you work with.
Oh man.
I made that I made that mistake a lot of times, but you know, you meet them and you might be really attracted to like XYZ quality about them, but you don't even know about this like creepy, weird, dark thing that they're into. And you're like, oh, that's going to be a no from me, which now I'm already invested. Damn it. Now I'm like, so I guess I can see why I can see the benefit to dating apps.
Yeah.
I just feel like like in theory, it sounds good, but in practice, I feel like it would be really easy to just like constantly like not have a spark. You know what I mean? Because I don't, maybe this is a me problem. Maybe I should bring this up in therapy at some point. But, you know, a lot of times when we have a spark, it's with somebody who's actually not really compatible with us. Why does that happen? Like, why is that a thing? Why are you like, oh, you give me a funny tickle. And then you get to know them and you're like, I hate everything about you. Like every single thing you like, I absolutely hate. So, why do I like you so much right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of chemicals. There's actually a book that I read called Wired for Dating, and it's all about the chemicals that happen when you're going on a date with someone. And it just talks about how like that spark that you're talking about is just it's just chemicals happening inside of you. And it's really important for you to recognize those things of like, okay, actually I feel like I like you, but no. There's literally no compatibility here. I
Right.
really need to get my head with my emotions right now because the spark doesn't mean anything. A spark doesn't mean that they are the right one for you. And actually, it could be a negative. It can definitely be a negative spark, and you just don't recognize it.
That's probably me. I'm just kidding. By the way, I don't need to bring that up in therapy because I am happily married and that doesn't happen with other people. But, you know, 15 years ago, maybe that would have been something I spoke
Yeah.
about. But no, I think that's a really good point. And I guess not something that I ever really did any research about, but like that love at first sight kind of feeling and how wildly inaccurate that can actually be once you get into a relationship. Relationships are hard. I mean, I imagine dating is really hard, but let me tell you, once you like find somebody and you're like, yes, let us build a life together, that shit does not get easier. I'm just putting it out there. Whether you're vegan or like both vegan or not, 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 and I are really, I mean, you know 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 and I, we could not be more different. We couldn't be more different, but we do have very similar values. And that is sort of like the foundation of our relationship. We have similar values, we have similar goals, but like our personalities are like dead ass opposites. And that, I mean, certainly that comes up all the time. I think everything is funny, everything is a joke to me. It is not a joke to 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿. He does not like my jokes, and vice versa. But it's, you know, I think it's challenging at every stage. And the longer I'm married, the more I'm like, oh my God, I thought this was going to be like a set it and forget it at this point. And it just never seems to hit that point. It's like a garden that constantly needs tending, basically. But yeah, I guess I am lucky just in general that 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 and I, we literally just like stumbled upon one another a bajillion years ago now. Because sometimes I think about like, oh, whatever, what, you know, God forbid anything happened to one of us or something happened to 𝐬𝐿𝐾. Like if I had to start dating again, like, I don't even know if I would, like, because it sounds so intimidating and kind of like almost alien to me, the way that people go about dating now. And it's not even like I work at home. That's the only way I could meet anybody, would be on an app or online now. So
It's difficult because that's my case. I work from home. I was going to school online as well. So like my whole life was online. I don't really meet people out and about. Most of my friends that I've made here have been online. And luckily I've made really good friends that way. But there's definitely the pros and cons to it because like the pros, you can see everything right up front. Like if I see a fishing photo or a hunting photo, I know. Whereas like I see someone that looks like No, they look like they could. Sometimes people just look like they could be vegan. I'm like, he looks like he could be a vegan guy. I've even asked people, and I'm like, are you vegan? And they're like, no. Okay, they just look vegan. I'm just saying. Some people just have that look. But yeah, it definitely has its pros and cons because it's definitely very uncomfortable to meet someone online in general because it's just like we said, it's just not organic. Also, I've read a lot of dating books actually. I read another one, Modern Dating, which is from Aziz Ansari. I don't know if you listen to him.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, he's funny. But he created a book called Modern Dating, and it's a really good one. Every book that I recommend everyone, make sure you read it. Wired for Dating, Modern Dating are both really good. Modern Dating just talks about the factor too of like the amount of options. I kind of mentioned that at the beginning. Like there's so many options, and that's also really overwhelming on our psyche because it's just like we always feel like we can find something better. It's like the grass is always greener. It's like, oh, they're okay. They seem kind of nice, but there's like all these other people, and we kind of feel like the options are endless when that's really not the case. And if we live like that, we're just probably never going to find anyone because the grass is always going to be greener. And there's also the matter of like a lot of people don't go on second dates. It's usually like a lot of people are just going on first dates. He recommends like going on at least 3 dates before you kind of make your judgments about them because like organically when we meet someone, we're not really quick to write them off. Whereas like if we meet them online, like you could see someone that, I don't know, supports a sport team that you don't like and it's like, nah, swipe left. Like, but you wouldn't do that in person. Like I wouldn't meet someone in person and be like, oh, they really like the Yankees. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna stop talking to you. Whereas like someone online could just swipe left. I don't like that they like that team. We're like so much more judgmental online because we're just not getting that like personal connection. We're more judgmental when we first meet them.
Yeah.
We're not really open to giving them more chances. So there's so much to it. Like I'm just making it seem like it's impossible to date as a vegan right now.
Right. And then what else was I just gonna say? There was something else along that same line. I lost it because 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 came in here and distracted me.
Hey listeners, we hope you've been enjoying this episode and we appreciate your love of all things vegan fitness. For those of you who want even more support on your vegan fitness journey, check out our Muscles by Brussels community and become a member. By joining the team, you are one of our exclusive VIPs. As a member, you'll find over 200 macro-friendly, high-protein recipes that can meet any of your meal planning needs. You'll also receive training programs that update monthly. This training has progressive overload built into it, so you can be sure if you're following the program, you are making progress. All of this and more is located inside our VeganProteins members-only app. As a Muscles by Brussels member, you'll unlock bonus courses, challenges, and more every month. You'll also be invited to our live Zoom video calls, which happen 2 times a month, and are absolute gold to those who show up. And if you can't make the calls, don't worry, you have the opportunity to email us whenever you want. You'll receive a video response to all of your questions from one of the coaches here at VeganProteins every time you message us. Members also receive 40% off many of our other services. And of course, our private community of like-minded individuals is like no other. Best of all, you can try this membership out for a full month at no cost to you with this special offer for our listeners only, because we appreciate and want to fully support you. Use the link in our show notes to sign up for your free trial today. We hope to see you on our next live coaching call.
Oh, it reminds me of like how they say with kids, if you're having them try new foods, they have to try something like 7 times or so before they decide whether or not they like it. So if a kid tries something and they don't like it the first time they try it, like don't give up, have them try it again. And, it's very similar to people. I think like first impressions mean a lot, but they're not everything. Yeah. And it also makes me think about the scrolling feature. I mean, on the dating apps, it's a swiping feature, but it's the same as scrolling, right? Like, can you swipe infinitely? Like, will it just keep going forever?
On most of the apps, yeah. Like on Tinder, Hinge, like those are huge. As long as you have your, because you can have your like you can change your settings. So you can have like a specific age range, you can have a specific distance range. So if your distance is like big enough, like, yeah, like for me, because where I live, my options, they're just going to keep going forever. I've been scrolling for 4 years and there's still new people every time. I mean,
it's just super funny.
Out there. Yeah,
like scrolling is addictive. Scrolling is super addictive. So it's like one thing when you're scrolling through other people's posts, that's obviously not a good thing anyway. But then now you're scrolling through like that's what you're doing. You're judging people, which you have to do and you should do if you're dating. But literally, you're just sitting there swiping left and right, judging people on probably just like a few seconds glance. You know,
yeah,
that is kind of wild, I guess. And you know, some people are like, oh, this is discriminatory or that's discriminatory. And I don't know how I feel about like discrimination and like, well, that's a very big topic, but just like being discriminatory in dating. Like, I think you should be a little discriminatory in dating because it's you're the one who's deciding what you like and what you're interested in and what you're into. And, you know, nobody's attracted to everybody, you know? Anyway, that's a whole separate topic, but
yeah. And with that, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's your life. And if you're actually on there for serious reasons and your goal is to meet someone to be with forever, like it's okay to, you know, want what you want. As long as you're not like, I mean, some people are definitely over the top in terms of like, if they want perfection, you won't get perfection. Like, it's just not going to happen. You know, you're in a relationship. Like, there's no perfection. You will never find someone that you are perfectly compatible with, but you can find someone that you're pretty darn close. At least have similar values. I think that's the most important to me. It's just like, I just really want someone that has similar values to me. And unfortunately, my values are 1.1% of the population of the world.
Right.
So I have some slim pickings.
I have seen some really, really, I guess they're funny to me, like dating profiles that pop up on Reddit. And it's such a huge stereotype, but it seems like all these ones I see are exactly that. It's men looking for women with like very, very specific things, like must be between 5'2" and 5'4", between 100 and 110 pounds, with this size boobs, and must want to do nice things for me. And like the list is like they're looking for a girl they saw in an anime cartoon and they're trying to find her in real life. And then they start talking about themselves and it's like they live in their parents' basement with a neck beard playing video games all the time. And it's like, bro, why do you think that you like, why do you think this is an actual possible thing? And I wish I could say that I've just seen it once, but I've seen it like hundreds of times just popping up in Reddit. And it's crazy to me. And I guess that is definitely a huge, like you were just saying, like trying to find perfection. I mean, some people are trying to find a girl that literally doesn't exist. Like, you know, like how they said if Barbie was an actual human person, she would just fall over because she'd be so top heavy. Like physically, they can't even exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's people have some strong criteria, and sometimes I do have fun in the apps though, because there's like, just like you said, like those apps are just like, what? Some profiles are just ridiculous. So that's the other thing. So many people are dating, but then also factor in the people that like what? Like just looking at their profile, you're just like, what? I always laugh when I always see this. It's like the same stuff, like, oh, I'm looking for someone who's honest and loyal. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was looking for a liar and someone, who just kind of sucks. Like, it's like looking for someone who's honest and loyal and kind. Like, that is the goal, I think, for the majority of people. Right. I always laugh at those ones, but those aren't that bad. I just think they're funny because it's like, okay, duh. Right. I too am looking for those things. But yeah, you do see a lot of profiles that like have just ridiculous. I've seen pictures. I think I've seen some where the guys are just, this guy was just like in his diaper, which is not a normal thing, but he just like, it was just all pictures of him in a diaper. For people who are interested in that, there's like, I've seen pictures, a lot of guys will do like, they're fully naked and have like a magazine over their, bits, and it's like taking pictures like that. A lot of guys do the butt photo where they're just like naked and it's just like their butts, like, I don't know, somewhere, anywhere. There's lots of that.
Wow.
And then there's just a lot of
I had no idea. I hope people are seeing this on YouTube because my face is really giving away like how much I was not expecting any of that. I've only seen like what I have seen usually is like fishing pictures. So many fishing pictures. What the hell is that? And pictures of like them in a lineup of bros. So you don't even know which one.
Yes.
Guy.
Yeah. Okay. Good topic. Let me tell you, fellas, right now, you have to have one photo of just you. And it must be at a good angle. If you can see me, a lot of guys will take the photo like this. Like, this is an awful angle. Don't take photos at that angle. Take it from, here.
Right.
Let's take the down low angle. They'll have like all group photos. And I'm like, which one is he? You can have some group photos, but only a couple. That's the rules. And stop fishing photos. Actually, keep the fishing photos because then I know to swipe left. But, most women don't like that.
Oh, I don't. Well, just to be fair, because I feel like we're picking on the guys a lot here. I have heard some horror stories about women who will immediately write men off if they're under 6 feet tall.
Okay,
like,
yeah,
that's a huge thing that was not a thing when I was younger at all. I mean, lots of people are into, the tall, dark, and handsome. They say that for a reason, but that's crazy to me how many men are just immediately written off for being under 6 feet tall. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. And I think that is equally, if not more, kind of effed up than some of the other stuff that we've mentioned, because you can't, you can control your interests to a degree. You can't control your height.
Yeah, it is sucky. We are picking on men, and it's just easier to pick on the men because that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, there are some things I've heard of women too, especially not even just height, but like hair. Like if a man's like losing his hair, if he's going bald, if it's receding, like so many women like pick on that, which I think is so awful because those are two things that men cannot control. Like you physically cannot control if your hair is falling out. You physically cannot control how tall you are. Right. So it's really not fair to pick on someone for something that's completely out of their control. You can have your preferences, but yeah, some people are just mean about it. Like some women are just mean about it. And that's really sucky. I'm like, well, at least, I don't know, say something nice. Geez.
Yeah. Everybody's entitled to their preferences, but what an odd thing to like literally have a cutoff on height. I don't know. I dated a guy, for many years, I dated a guy who was like probably 1.5 inches or so shorter than me. And other people would make fun of us, but I didn't care at all. Like, I just wore flats. That's all. And it didn't bother me at all. And best hugs on earth. It just feels better at that height, man. It just does. And 𝐶𝐿 is definitely under 6 feet. I think he's 5'10", I think, but it says 6 feet on his license, but it's not 6 feet. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, what an interesting fact. I could talk about this all day because I think it's so fascinating. I've thought sometimes about downloading dating apps just so I can see what they're about, but I'm like, if 𝐶𝐿 ever sees this on my phone, he's going to be like, Danny, we are having a conversation. So,
you can just be on mine. Next time we're together, you can just swipe through mine.
Well, there have been a couple times that you've shown me some of the things on there, and I'm just like, holy crap, it is a different world. And that's what I'm like, 𝐶𝐿, we have to stay together forever because F that. I'm not.
Wild world out here. Wild, wild west on these dating apps.
All right. Well, this has been a really, really fun conversation. I hope you guys got something out of it. Literally, guys, if you got something out of it, it's that the world is kind of your oyster, vegan men. There's 3 vegan women for every 1 vegan guy. So you guys kind of have it made. So just wanted to put that out there. That's pretty.
I'm single.
Yeah.
That's what we got out of this.
And here's Athena. She's wonderful. She's single, she's smart, she's cute, she's the total package. Where can they find you, Athena?
You can find me on Hinge. New Jersey area.
She's also I am just Athena on Instagram. So if you're not following her already, you should anyway. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. If you liked this episode, feel free to leave it a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other people find the show. And if there's any topics that you would like us to cover, shoot us an email, coach@veganproteins.com. And if you are looking for any kind of vegan coaching whatsoever, one-on-one, group challenges, our monthly membership, go to veganproteins.com and check it out. Once again, my name is Danny.
I'm Athena.
And we'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.
Toodles.